Welcome back to Marine Corps Movie Minute, where we break down movies of the Marine Corps 1 minute at a time. This week today we are breaking down minute number 50 of Heartbreak Ridge. I'm Jack, and I'm joined by Brian Lockhart and Travis Bowe from Real Shit.
For real shit.
Great
to be here. Nope. Keep it in.
I wanted to make sure that I got the podcast name right.
Don't you dare correct yourself.
No.
Hey, why don't you tell them how you really feel?
Yeah. Real Comic Heroes podcast, in which I had it right on my head, but I had that little momentary panic, like, no, that's not right. So there I go again, fucking it up.
Who's messing up now, huh?
Yeah, Martha. So this week, or today, God damn it, man, I'm on a roll. Today we're going to break down minute 50.
51.
Motherfucker is God. I quit. I quit. 51. It's 51. Profile's doing laps around the squad.
I'm gonna make you do laps around the squad.
I know I'm gonna need to, man. I need some remediation. Apparently coffee's just not strong enough this morning, or I just have severe brain damage.
Yeah, it's too much.
Go ahead.
No, I would say it's all the crayons you've been eating.
Lead paint chips. So the minute begins with Profile running around the squad, and the minute ends with Gunny reading Femme magazine in his pickup, or in Chuzu's pickup, like a creep.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, how are you guys doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm just glad to be here.
Man, I'm sorry I fucked up your podcast name.
No, man, it's all good.
You unprofessional bastard, you. We're glad to have you back, Travis.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, happy to be here.
At least we got one professional person here.
Yes.
All right, so let's get into it. Let's wrap up Profile's little mini movie within these 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Right away, as he's running around, you see Lance Corporal Getty lean back and say, Profile's never going to make it back to the barracks. And Stitch kind of adds his 2 cents and says, Powers is cold-blooded, man. Yes, this is a harsh discipline. I mean, physically, that's tough. In fact, we see how tough it is. Profile falls out right away. I mean, I'm not sure how far he ran already.
Mm-hmm.
You could see the rifle range in the background, so they're not that far, but it's also kind of in the distance. So, and it's probably hot. It's supposed to be North Carolina.
Yeah, supposed to be.
We know it's July or August at this point, because it was end of July when the movie started. So it's probably August. It's hot as all get out.
Mm-hmm.
And they got their sleeves down for some reason. So he's hot and he fell out. But I do wonder, is this really that harsh of a punishment, considering I'm pretty sure he could have been NJP'd for what happened.
Well, considering almost accidentally killing fellow Marines, accidental firing.
Almost accidentally killing your commanding officer.
Yeah, that too. I don't know, man. I think he actually got off light.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
That's the thing. Powers is set up to be an asshole, and he shows it over and over again.
Yeah.
And he definitely does not like Gunny, so we're not supposed to like Powers. But I do think that he did let him off light by just giving him a physical, because we see no further fallout from this.
Right. Because why was the Swede in the brig?
He had punched their last platoon sergeant, I believe.
Okay. Yeah,
punched him apparently right out of the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
Seems like that's where Profile should be headed.
Yeah.
At the very least, so NJP is non-judicial punishment, and that is it's Article 15 under the UCMJ, which is Uniform Code of Military Justice, also known as office hours or captain's mass or something like that. And that is basically saying you can, if there's, usually for minor offenses. Lower ranking guys are basically, you did something that could get you court-martialed. Not always though. It could be just something like, oh, you were disrespectful, because there is in Article 134 of the UCMJ, which is the general catch-all article, which they can literally say you
Anything.
did anything.
Yeah.
It could be from assault to drunkenness, adultery, anything. Like they could technically put you up on charges or again, non-judicial punishment for committing adultery, which probably half the Marine Corps would probably be put up on charges if they really enforced it. But because you're supposed to be set to a higher standard, and also there's the idea too of not getting yourself into any sort of compromising position where then you can be compromised as a foreign agent or whatever.
Right.
Honestly, if you get yourself into financial trouble, that's also no.
Yeah.
Again, that happens. So yeah, he easily could have been brought up to charges for Article 134 just for that. But honestly, it could have been negligence, just anything like that.
Negligent discharge of a firearm. That right there alone endangering other Marine. They could have had that guy in that pickup haul his ass right back to the brig with him in the back.
Yeah.
You're going away.
Yeah, he easily could have been put up on charges like that, I think, but definitely, what's his name, could have restricted him to the barracks, lost rank, lost money. Those are the three main things that happen to the people that get NJP. They get restricted to the barracks for a month to 3 months.
Extra duty.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. Definitely extra duty.
Skiff duty for every weekend. Ugh.
Right. Yeah, we knew one guy that he basically was helping run the barracks because he was on permanent barrack restrictive duty. So and then they have to be in uniform all the time. They have to check in every hour with the duty sergeant. They have to they forfeit pay. And if they really want to get drastic, they can reduce rations even, but that I don't think that usually gets done too much. It's mostly the pay, the rank, and restricted to duty. Restricted to barracks and extra duty. All of this profile could have had. So he's getting a very harsh physical punishment, but beyond that, it's almost like, all right, after you deal with this, you're done. It's forgiven.
You can either have a spanking or you're grounded for a month. Oh, it's like, well,
He's getting the belt out, but yeah, it's over with now or long term.
Yeah, exactly.
I like the detail of not having the ammo clip in the gun as he's carrying it, because the last thing you want is him having a loaded weapon while he's doing this, especially when he falls.
So technically you're not supposed to, unless you're on guard duty, the magazine's supposed to be out of the weapon at all times, unless you're guarding or you're at the range firing, or training. Generally, it's the normal state of that weapon should be without a magazine in the.
Yeah, like when you're out in the fleet and you just go the rifle range to qualify, you got to show them that your weapon's clear. You show them that their magazine is empty, and then you show them in the little magazine pouches or any of your pockets. You pat them down. You declare that you have nothing, because they boot camp, they're really strict.
Yeah,
but they try to take account of what ammo was fired. Make sure you're not supposed to have any of that with you.
Huh.
And then you take your weapon back to the armory and they lock it up.
Yeah.
And that's always fun cleaning it. Of course, Profile does a face plant and he gets his weapon in the dirt. He's going to
barrel first.
Yeah. He'll be at the armory for a while cleaning that thing. It's not fun because some of those guys are, you're like, man, this thing is clean as all get out. I could, you could cook off of it. And they're like, nah, there's some dirt here.
So you're saying he'll turn in this weapon, and then, so it's not really his rifle, like the whole.
It is, but it isn't. You get assigned a rifle. And that's like, it's match. You get a card. Well, it's probably different now, but when we were in, it was,
it's like a library card with a metal stamp that matches the serial number of the rifle.
So you would still get the same weapon each time.
Yes.
Okay.
So once it's sighted in, once it's zeroed in, you can go take it out, or you can check it out. And technically, you're supposed to be able to just check it out anytime you want to. But most of the time, you're busy doing other stuff that you don't. You should go to the range, and there's like maybe once I think somebody randomly went to go clean their rifle because they basically just didn't want to be at the office anymore. Like, I'm going to go clean my rifle.
Typically, you only do that after you've checked it in or out for firing, especially firing because all the carbon that gets on there.
Yeah.
and then we use CLP, and it's just some sort of weapons cleaner that gets all over your
Clean,
hands.
lubricant, and protectant.
Yeah, and don't let a little bit of any grain of sand get on there, and they'll be on you. In fact, well, in boot camp, you get your weapon, and you actually keep that with you all the time.
Okay.
There's a cable that you lock it up to your bunk, and it goes through Perry doesn't go through where the ammunition feeds in through the chamber there.
Yeah, so we had actual rifle racks at the end of the bunks, so we didn't actually. Yeah.
Oh, we didn't do that. That's
Yeah,
funny.
we were high speed.
Yeah, no, we actually, it was a bunk bed, so it was, you had 2 Marines to each bunk there, and you would like if I was the top bunk, let's just say for an example, I was on the right side, and I would cable my weapon up there. So we kept that weapon all the time, and we cleaned it every night, and it was ridiculous because you march around with your weapon and drill and do all that with it, and then of course when you're shooting and firing, then that's you really got to clean it. And they're on you about cleaning it, keeping it clean. But when you're out in the fleet, you typically, like a few times we did what we called a boots and utes run, or a hump, where you wear your full uniform, you get like an 80-pound
flak, deuce, Alice pack, helmet.
How these guys are, but then you also got the flak jacket on, and then you also have the your pack, and usually it's got to have certain stuff in it, so it's a certain weight, and then you get your rifle, and you go on a hump, kind of the way they got it slinged over their shoulders, and so that's really the only time we ever would kind of take them out. But yeah, they're pretty strict on you when you try to turn them back in, as far as making sure how clean they are.
Yeah, and usually the only time we ever did humps too, like any kind of substantial hump, was right before a 96. You ever notice that? Like it was like usually like right before a long weekend for a holiday.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, we're gonna go on a Easter Day hump, and then then we're done by like 10 in the morning.
Yeah, that's true. So you kind of get done with for the day, but also you're too tired to fuck up while you're on vacation.
Yeah. Go drink some water.
It's kind of like when you're going to leave your dog home for a little bit, so you take him for a walk so he's tired and doesn't get destructive. That's the Marine.
Yeah.
Same thing to Marines too.
Feet are all blistered. Yeah, feet are all blistered.
Yeah, you can't walk anywhere. The one thing I was going to say about when you declare your ammo, like in boot camp especially, you go through a line, and of course they're yelling at you and they're checking your pockets. They don't trust you, and you have to say no brass, no ammo. And because you're usually under stress and it's so fast, it's no ass, no bramo.
Yeah, and they will crush your ass if they find you with any brass casings. Like nothing. You can't have any of that. Yeah. They basically don't want you doing that in the fleet either. However,
well, they treat you
like an adult. Yeah, but you also like you're not having any risk of blowing your teeth out in the in the head.
Yeah, well, that's why like that scene in Heartbreak, Full Metal Jacket. Jeez, I can't even think his name right now. Vincent D'Onofrio.
Pyle.
Yeah, that wouldn't have happened. I mean, it just wouldn't have. In fact, I remember reading a book that R. Lee Ermey said he argued with the director that this wouldn't happen, but he said he relented because it was his movie and he was just there to be he was originally the technical advisor.
Yeah.
And then the guy they hired to play his role was terrible at it, and so R. Lee Ermey filled in, and they said they went back and rewrote those scenes for like over a weekend. And he said they argued about that, and he said, well, ultimately it was his movie, and he was trying to prove a point or do a narrative. He's like, but it just wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
In the fleet, like I said, now then we have our weapons with us all the time, so that's why they're a little stricter. Plus, they don't trust any of us because you're under a lot of stress.
Yeah.
And you don't really, not everybody makes it through, but like in the fleet, they're just a lot more like they treat you a little, like you said, like an adult. But
yeah. And which the only thing that I ever thought the reason why you weren't allowed to take weapons to the head at all, ever, under any circumstances, no weapons were to go into the head. all the stuff that we did with weapons in the squad bay was during recruit training was, pretty rigorous, like holding the weapon out. Hey, a 7-pound rifle gets real fucking heavy when you're holding it out in front of you with the charging handle pulled back for an extended period of time. But like they wouldn't even let us run through the head to get out of the building with our rifles. So the only thing I ever thought was that at some point in time, something must have happened. It was like one of those blanket things that.
For sure, not taking any chances, which is why would they post a fire watch in the head and where people sleep, because they're basically the fire watch in the head is to make sure nobody's trying to commit suicide.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, it's not funny, but that's why they do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Profile holding that weapon over his head running, that rifle gets heavy super fast.
I also like that when Profile falls there next to Gunny, Gunny gets down kind of close to him, but he never tries to help him up. He gives him the little words of encouragement, if you will, but he never like touches him to like help him to his feet. So I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got to find his own way. But this is too what you were saying, and we'll let Billy could probably quote the lines that he actually says. But I like the fact that this is one of the first times where you actually see that Gunny actually kind of cares about these guys.
Yeah. He may not like his guys much, but he really does not like Powers.
Yeah.
Or that.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah.
There was one other scene where Gunny did kind of show his, I think it's just for Marines in general, not necessarily for Stitch Jones.
Yeah.
When Roy Jennings started harassing those Marines, he came right to their defense.
Yep.
We also made the observation that maybe he has a little personal bias against Roy Jennings already. But this is, I actually think this is the turning point of Gunny and the Recon Marines relationship right here, in this minute with what he says to Profile. Because when he falls out, now Perry and I had talked about this offline previously. When we watch these minutes with our headset in, we pick up a lot more of the dialogue.
Yeah.
That I even did. Like I had just a crappy pair of headphones in earlier, and I kind of could hear that he mentioned Profile's name. But when I put my recording headset on, I hear the dialogue plain as day. We've picked up a lot of background stuff that we hadn't noticed before.
Yeah, I didn't notice the line when I watched it, my first watching of the whole movie, and I wasn't even sure that these were the minutes I had, but I didn't hear Clint Eastwood say anything to Profile. So then when I went back to actually start looking at the actual minutes, I was surprised that line is in there that I definitely didn't hear the first time around.
Yeah.
When you just watch it on TV, like here it is on HBO, I always just looked at it as he was whispering, and that's all you were supposed to meant. And then the payoff is what he says to Powers.
Yeah.
But when you have these headsets on, he flat out says, "Come on, Profile, don't give the prick the satisfaction. You can make it." Yeah. And that actually, the fact that he was like, "You can make it," like that's where I was like, this really does start to turn. There's one other scene I think too that kind of solidifies their turn as to like, hey, this guy is actually pretty cool. Well, I think there's a series of things, but I think this is the beginning of their respect for Gunny because he's showing respect to them.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like you said, it's also to just kind of dig into to Major Powers because that's it works. It motivates Profile. He yells Recon. He gets up on his own and he just starts running. And Powers, of course, wants to know what he said to the man. What did you say to that man?
Yeah.
He said, "Don't give the prick the satisfaction, sir."
And then walks off.
It just keeps going. Yeah. Which this whole podcast endeavor was just done so I could do my crappy Clint Eastwood impression. But that's it for the Profile trilogy. It's over. It's done.
Yeah.
We cut to Gunny in Chuzu's truck still doing some casual stalking.
So weird. Like
I mean, this is the type of stuff you do like if you're like 15 and a moron, like it's a girl I like, she's dating somebody else. That was me. Well, the fact too that he's reading a woman's magazine, which he's been doing throughout the movie, but he doesn't know how to be sensitive. So that's his solution is to read Vogue.
Like it's a training manual.
Yeah.
Sensitive dialogue during communication of a relationship, I think is what he says. Something to that effect. So he's just reading the headlines and stuff, or the article titles and stuff. And he's just literally stalking his ex-wife while she's leaving her work. It is a little creepy if if Gunny wasn't our hero, we'd be and he was the bad guy, we'd be like, yeah, shit,
Yeah. Well, really, I really did not care for the entire relationship of Gunny and Aggie, like throughout the whole movie. Like it never gets to a point where I'm like, oh, okay, I can see why they want to be together. It's like at certain points, he's just this whole stalking thing is creepy and weird, and then at another point she invites him in, and then yells at him to get out of her house, and it's like I don't really like either of them together. So just all of that just felt real. I don't know. I never liked the two of them together. So
yeah. Well, she does that thing that he likes, and he does that thing she really, really likes, and sometimes that's just the way the relationship's supposed to be.
Yeah.
He tickles his prostate with a Freddy Krueger glove.
Oh, they establish why she doesn't like him pretty clear, but they never really establish why she liked him from the get-go, from the beginning. I mean, they do get into the fact that like maybe like she was like it was too much for her, but also he seems like he's a handful, and but yeah, you're right. It never kind of like, and I guess he just likes her maybe because she left him. I think they do establish later on though that they went to high school together, so it's like they were high school sweethearts. They got married. At whatever point it became too much for her and she left. Perry and I discussed we weren't sure if he knew that she was back in town when he got here, but he was already reading these magazines like he's trying to be more of a sensitive guy. So was he trying to hook back up with her?
I think it's the lady who owns the bar. She's the one that tells him like, "Oh, have you seen her yet?" or something like that.
No.
So,
yeah. Little Mary, is trying to play matchmaker, which clearly she thinks they should be together. But
it might be dawning on Gunny too that maybe he's realized it. Maybe perhaps he's just a little bit of an asshole.
Yeah, it does seem like, and I've talked about that too, where it's like he's close to retirement. He's an aging gentleman. He's about to enter a new phase of his life, which is completely different than like somebody who's been that entrenched in the Marine Corps, and he's gung ho, like true blue.
Mm-hmm.
Getting out at his age and being all alone, all that, like he probably doesn't know what he's gonna do.
Yeah.
So it's like it almost feels like it's the safe thing to do is to go back to the woman he was married to before. Why she kind of comes back around, they never really establish that. She just kind of does. I guess you're supposed to think that maybe she always did like him. It's just that she was fed up with some of his bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we only see that quick little second of him stalking them. So we'll that's for us to get into in another minute. But Travis, do you have any other things you want to talk about as far as the movie itself as a whole? Anything you want to talk about for this minute?
I noticed in the kind of the opening minutes when you're first introduced to Gunny here, you're kind of hearing him, and it's panning through jail cell bars and all that stuff, and just hearing him, and then once you see him, I noticed, or I felt how in the 80s and I guess mid 80s how robbed we were of Clint Eastwood as Wolverine.
Oh.
Because he would just play the perfect Wolverine at that time. I mean, a little grizzled and older, but it made me think of like in that 2000s X-Men movie when you do first meet Wolverine, he's in like a cage fight,
Yeah.
and it just seems like they were trying to maybe inspired by this a little bit. I mean, he's not but he gets into a fight in that jail cell here in this movie. So I just felt like, oh man, he would have been a perfect Wolverine.
Yeah, that's a great point. But he's got the scar and everything, you know.
Yeah, chomping on a cigar and all that. So, and even like Clint Eastwood looks like Hugh Jackman a little bit.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
So,
Given that Hugh Jackman is a tall man himself,
yeah,
given it's totally acceptable that if given the right timing, that Clint Eastwood could have just played a tall Wolverine as well.
yeah, yeah.
And I want to say didn't I want to say that in the 80s they tried to, or early 80s, they tried to model Wolverine in the comics a little bit after Clint Eastwood.
Could be, yeah. I know he was always chomping on a cigar too.
Yeah, and not
Um,
necessarily like
yeah,
the same way they took like Sam Jackson for Nick
sure.
Fury in the Ultimates, but
Yeah.
more just the attitude, the
Yeah, yeah.
the gruffness. I want to say I read that somewhere. I could just be making that up,
No,
but
that sounds, legit.
he was a tough guy. He was known for being a tough guy, and I mean in this he's got the raspiest voice, which is he's affecting it for the role. But yeah, he even in this movie is almost perfect to play Old Man Logan too. If you
Yeah,
know,
Yeah.
sure.
it's just too bad he's so old now that it would be
Yeah.
effective.
But no, I mean, I'm glad I watched this movie. I was really enjoyed watching it. So,
Yeah, it's a fun movie, man.
yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
I like where it goes, I like because like I said earlier, you could end this movie with some kind of competition between these two platoons, and I wouldn't have been surprised. But I do like where it goes, and I didn't really know much about all that. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
well, we thank you for coming on, and
my pleasure.
yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed the movie. It's one of my favorites for sure. So
I was curious. I don't know if you guys have announced what other Marine movies you guys plan to cover. You can edit this out if you don't want to share that, or if you don't have a.
well, according to my wife, nothing.
Okay, gotcha.
'Cause I think no, but I already told her like, look, we'll bank a lot more ahead of time, so we're not always flying by the seat of our pants. But because we've learned a lot doing this. But
Yeah.
no, to answer your question, we have already reserved Full Metal Jacket,
Okay.
and we've mentioned that a few times, so that could be the next one we do.
Yeah.
But the other one I actually reserved as well. I reserved, these three was Major Pain,
Okay.
and I kind of feel like I want to do Major Pain next because
Yeah.
it's so much more lighthearted.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's a quicker movie. I love the boot camp stuff of Full Metal Jacket, and I do
Yeah.
think it's well worth getting into minute by minute. The only problem with that is it's a more serious movie. It's a well-regarded movie, and even though I've done a little research for this, particular film, which I'm enjoying, I feel like it's almost a responsibility to do more serious research for that kind of like it's a more serious film.
Yeah.
The other thing too is me personally, I do not care for the Vietnam parts of that movie.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
most people
that's the
don't.
yeah. That's usually what I hear. I've seen it once, and I pretty much would agree with that. Like the boot camp stuff with Arlie Ermy is just you could watch that,
By itself.
anytime. But
Yeah, I was even joking that we should just do like minute by minute of the of the boot camp stuff and do just one long episode of the Vietnam
Vietnam
stuff.
stuff.
And
Yeah,
be
just
like,
have it planned.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
we're like, that's it, we're done.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll do that because
Yeah.
we will stick to the format. Whatever format we start with, we'll end with. But
Right.
yeah, that's. But I'm actually kind of looking forward to doing Major Pain because
That's cool.
that's a movie where I watched it and I thought it was funny, but I'm like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
And then I watched it like 3 times in a row with a bunch of Marines during on a working party, and I just had the best time watching it, and I'm like and now I love the movie, it's just so good. I mean, it's goofy, but
Yeah.
it's good. I mean, it's basically if Gunny Highway ran a daycare.
Well, that's kind of what he's doing now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a similar movie, honestly, so to stick with the theme, I think we might do that, and, on a side note too, this has nothing to do with the Marine Corps, but we're also thinking about doing Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which
Oh, nice.
because the Robert Downey Jr. plays Harry Lockhart,
Yeah.
and Val
Oh.
Kilmer is Gay Perry. And so I'm like, how can we not do this?
Yeah.
Like, but we didn't want to start with that because we were like, well, we had the Marine Corps idea.
Yeah.
So we're like, well, maybe we'll do that as like a one-off or something like that, because it's a great movie too.
I love that movie.
Yeah, it's a cool movie.
So I'm like, yeah, it's got our names in it, so we got to do it. It's implied in our mandate,
Yeah.
Was you guys talking about it in the movie makers group, calling it Kiss Kiss Bang Bang Minute Minute?
No, I think
Because someone else had the idea to do Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Yeah. Which I honestly, if I can't remember if I actually reserved it or not, and if they did, they should totally. I should just let them do it, and we could just talk about it on our own, instead of doing, because I don't know when we'll get to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I should reach out.
When you can always, be a guest maybe. Or...
Yeah, exactly. Because
movie with Batman and Iron Man together.
Yeah. But that's a good movie. Well, anyways, we can let's actually wrap up the minute by letting you plug whatever you want to plug for today, actually.
Cool, thanks. You can find me over on my longer running podcast, Real Comic Heroes. That's real with 2 E's, also known as Real Shit.
I'm sorry. I really am. I don't normally feel bad about things I say, but I had an unintentional brain fart, man, and I really apologize.
No, man, it's all good. It's all good. So over there, we've got a big list of primarily comic book movies, and we go through that list in chronological order. We added a lot of some other like genres, some other franchises to that list: James Bond, Planet of the Apes, Star Trek, Star Wars.
Oh, cool.
So it's not just comic book movies, but it's all in that geeky vein. And I'm pretty sure that everything that we've covered has been adapted into a comic book at some point. So it all kind of fits. But yeah, we go chronologically through that list. So release order, if you will. And just kind of see how the genres change. Like I think talked about maybe off mic here. Like we talked about the 70s TV Captain America movie, and we just recently talked about the 90s Captain America movie. So it's kind of interesting to be able to compare those two things. But yeah, so we're currently, as of this recording, we're thick in the 90s. We just did The Rocketeer and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: Secret of the Ooze, and so we're still in the 90s having some fun. So you can find that everywhere by searching Real Comic Heroes.
I highly recommend it. I'm a fan. So.
Well, we appreciate that.
Yeah, and we appreciate you coming on and spending these last 3 minutes with us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, man, I had fun.
Yeah, as did we. So we'll just well, on Friday we just usually do our quick little plugs as well. First off, we always direct everybody to moviesbyminutes.com to check out more professionally done Movies by Minutes. And I steal the Jay and Silent Bob's line of pay special attention to Star Wars Minute. And, then I just ask everybody if they want to join us on the Marine Corps Movie Minute Quarter Deck Facebook group. And of course, we're just on Twitter and Instagram and blah, blah, blah. They can just find us and come to our Podbean site. Other than that, again, I think, thank you, Travis, for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And Perry, just next time, don't give the prick the satisfaction.
Say what?
Yeah.
Jeez, did you fall out too?
I couldn't find my mute button fast enough. I got the sneezes, man. My allergies are. I got the Rona.
Yeah.
Say what?
All right, I'm gonna kick Greg, and we'll just wrap that up, and I'll edit around half of that.